Hello everyone and welcome back to the Aristochats podcast, episode 5 I think, although I tend to get confused. If you've been listening to the episodes, I always give the wrong number of the episodes. Today I'm joined by, as always, Aerodrome.
Hello.
Ben Gold.
Good to be here.
And our third guest of the podcast, Shitashi. I'm not sure which tag to use.
Hello. Yeah, it's been a good few years since I've changed my tag, so...
Yeah, well, as a sort of a disclaimer, if I mention Chris or Kion during the episode, which I probably will, I'm referencing Shitashi because that's just how I've known him for.
No one calls me Raven anymore.
Yeah, that one didn't stick.
That's dead and buried.
Yeah.
What other tags have you had? Have you had any others? Just Shitashi,
those
Raven,
three.
and Kion? And DJ Kion?
So what era was the Raven tag? Was it pre-Kion?
It was post-Kion, because
Post-Kion.
Kion was a DJ name, then I decided I didn't want DJing to be associated with Smash, so Raven was a thing, but then...
And then did you put the 4s in that because of Elton or EADP?
Yes.
I thought so, yeah.
That was an influence of it, yeah. It was a mixture of that, and I just liked the quote the Raven nevermore.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you had that as your taunt on Brawl.
Yes.
Because you had like the little messages and we'd say nevermore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Bring
that
those.
was.
Do they have those in... You can't make your own
No.
messages.
They have
No.
predetermined messages that you can choose
And
from.
they're really lame too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
mine's like, make no mistake,
Yeah.
I will win.
Yeah.
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 And,
I'll get you next time, or...
and
The
all of
kind of
the
shit that would earn a swirly in school for.
all of the post game ones are like really rude as well.
Yeah.
Like you're amazing, and so people only just use it ironically.
Yeah.
Like they're teabagging you,
That's
and
the
then
only
they'll
good one.
You're
they'll
amazing.
win,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
good.
you're amazing,
That's
and then
good.
they'll leave, and it's like
We should do a segment on like the best Brawl taunts. We had those messages. I'll see what ones like we could remember, because it's funny how like funny I thought when I was like 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I was, because I used to have can't touch this. Like this can't touch this, and so I'd have that, which is actually not that bad.
well, you've
Like
got to
a
have some
13-year-old.
pretty good ones.
Yeah, you probably would have.
There was a guy that I remember who was called Rob and played Rob, and when he beat you, he'd say you got robbed. I thought it was genius, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. Now I just have like a comma. That would just be mine now.
Yeah.
Some bullshit happens, just comma. That's it. So yeah, we've got Kion on today, or Shitashi, and so we're going to talk about a lot of things related to Aussmash or Queensland Smash if you're a really OG Smash 4 player, and sort of the creation of that, and touching on a few other things as well, Kion's career, how long he's been in the scene. Firstly, starting with, how did you get into Smash to begin with?
Oh, well, like Smash in general, or
Yeah,
competitive
yeah.
Smash?
We'll start from the start. So
From
how
the
like
beginning.
yeah.
Okay, so my earliest memory of Smash is getting 64. I remember that when that was new. And I played it with the people in my street. So I think I would have been like 10. Pretty sure I was in primary school. And there was me, my sister, the two people next door to me. So that was a guy and a girl, and then another guy down the street. So there was 5 of us, and it was a 4-player game, and we'd just always play that a lot. But with there being 4 controllers, one person always had to give it up, and that was the person that came last. So that was, I guess, my first taste of being competitive. Was like, you had to fight to keep playing.
Yeah.
I did that for a bit. Then Melee, I played mainly when I got into... I would have been in high school. The main thing I had with Melee was I was working at a restaurant, and some of the guys there used to play Smash 64, and I was like, oh, there's this new game out, Melee. So I ended up buying a GameCube off eBay and leaving it at the head chef's house because everyone used to go back to his place after work. So that was another period of just every day after work, everyone would go back to his place for drinks, and we'd just play Melee. But in that case, there was like about 7 of us. So that was like, 3.
Yeah, a lot of people missing out.
That
Yeah.
ended up a lot more competitive.
Yeah.
But I basically found out about Smash tournaments towards the end of that, but I didn't think that I was that serious. But I knew Brawl was coming out, which was a new one. I went to one Smash meet in Queensland, but I didn't really...
For Melee or?
For Melee, yeah. Just before Brawl came out, I didn't feel like I had the best time, so I was kind of like, I'll just leave that and see what the...
I think that's around when Psych would have been number 1 in
Yeah,
Australia.
yeah,
Around
we'd be
like
close.
07.
They were like Queensland's crew was pretty. The scene was like pretty strong. They
Pretty
had like
strong, yeah.
trying to remember all
Yeah.
the players they had.
Vice
Yeah,
knows me
Vice.
now.
Does he?
Oh, did he play Melee?
Yeah.
as
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, he still does.
Yeah, he's got Falco clips on YouTube from like 15 years ago.
Well, he's mainly a Pokemon trading card game
Yeah.
Yeah.
now. But yeah, then I just decided I'm going to play Brawl, played online. The first tournament I went to,
Queensland Brawl Buddies.
Yeah, I teamed up with some 12-year-olds from Coffs Harbour. As an adult, I felt like a bit of a weirdo, but hey, we did all right.
Yeah.
And he's here today with us. So.
Yeah, true. Yeah. For those of you who didn't get the joke, that was me. I was a 12-year-old from Coffs Harbour who was driven by my
I would have
parents.
been like, 22 at the time?
I've got no clue. How did you place at that tournament?
13th.
You got 13th at that?
Yeah, so my first tournament, there was about 65 people, and I've looked it up, and pretty sure I got...
65, wow.
Yeah, that was my first ever
Yeah.
tournament. So
It was like a major too, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, there was quite a lot of...
Interstaters there,
Yeah.
There was Interstaters, I remember that.
Like, I think Shy was there.
Shy was there.
I think it was Jay was there,
Jay was
who was
there.
very good in Vic at the time.
There was a bunch of people that I don't even know anymore.
Yeah. I know the guy who got second was Culler, who was a snake
That's
player.
the one, yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think I ever saw him again. So
No,
I don't know.
yeah.
I think it was a Queenslander. I'm not
Wait,
sure.
he came second.
Yeah.
And then he just never showed up to another
He
tournament.
might have. I never saw his name again.
That's
I don't
kinda
know
crazy,
where he was
actually.
from. I've got no idea, to be honest.
That was all in 2008. So,
Wow.
yeah, what are we now? 2022?
2022.
Yeah, it's
nearly
like
the end of it. Yeah.
I guess I'm in my 14th year of
Wow.
playing Smash. I mean, I'm not like full-time as active as I used
Yeah.
to be, but I'm still around.
Yeah, we've been playing pretty much the same amount of time.
Yeah.
So when you were playing in your little Smash 64 and Melee groups, were you typically the best player in the group?
Yes.
Yeah.
My memory of particularly Melee was I thought Mewtwo was one of the best characters in Melee because people couldn't tell the difference between his air dodge and his teleport. And I would come first with a single win where I just pretty much dodge people and run away and let them kill each other.
I would never have
Never
expected
get
that.
that until I'm left with one person left, and then then I'll do something. So I just seem to have always been an arsehole.
Yeah.
But, I definitely feel like tournaments are fun because you play because you just want to get rankings, but there is just this urgency of because no one does on setups anymore where it's like, oh, if you win you can stay on. Like everyone does like fair rotations. Like I understand it's bad because the good players just get better, but hey, I guess it suited me back in the day. So
Yeah, it just depends on the culture.
Well,
really.
to be honest, there is a part of it I like with like the winner stays on thing because it incentivizes people to try in friendlies.
Yeah.
Like, because people otherwise, like, they muck around, they don't care
Yeah.
very much. They'll play secondaries and they'll just muck around. But if you're like, winner stays on, you'll play like double the amount of games if you're winning.
Yeah.
Then people will like try a bit harder.
if you've got people that are around a similar skill level, I think it's quite good. But if you do have any kind of lopsidedness in it, then it is unfair.
Yeah, it's kind of ruins it. It's also like it's no real point if like in terms of practice. If a player 3 tiers below this other player is like, you shouldn't even be practicing with each other. To be honest, you should be playing someone around like more close to your skill level.
Well, in America, I would go up to a setup and like, oh, do you guys want to do rotations? 3-man or whatever. And they look at me like I'm insane.
Yeah.
And they're like, you can join, but it's winner stays on. We're not doing rotations. And like
Interesting.
That was common like across multiple.
Yeah, that was common. Like every single time, it had to be winner stays on.
Yeah, right.
And in New York, it happened a couple times. I don't know if it was the done thing there. But every time I asked, they wanted to do sets. Like
Sets?
best of 3, winner stays on.
That's interesting.
I feel like there's roots in that because I also sometimes used to play Street Fighter at the arcade, and that had that element to it because you actually had to pay money to stay on.
Right.
So that always just felt like a continuation of the arcade, except when it's on your home console, you're not actually putting the money in to keep going.
It's a bit cheaper.
But I think in that case it makes sense because you literally just played for the games, and if you win, you're still on, and the loser like lost their credit. So
It's interesting how like different areas of Smash and different places in the world have like different cultural things that they do.
Absolutely.
Like, do you remember in Brawl, right at the start when all the Japanese players started coming to America, they would all sit on the floor.
Yes.
When they would play.
Yeah.
They all sit cross-legged on the floor. I don't think they don't do this anymore. I think they all have chairs now.
I'm glad they found chairs.
And they were like unbeatable, and they all did it. Not just one, like the entire scene did it. They didn't play for money because I think it was illegal in Japan.
They still largely don't.
Yeah,
except
they
for
still
some
mostly
very
don't.
specific-
Yeah,
And it's amazing that I hear so many people go, "Oh, if you don't have money, it can't be a real competitive scene. No one's going to have the time."
there's
Just
no
look at
reason
Japan.
why.
Like, we're the problem there.
yeah. I mean, that's like you look at like speedrunners or something. People put in like an insane amount of effort and dedication to perfecting something that they don't make any money from.
Yeah.
Like, people are driven in that. Like when you get competitive with something.
I think the Smash scene in general doesn't have the biggest prize pools or
No, it
support
doesn't.
from
It
Nintendo. So I
doesn't,
do
no.
feel like that scene in general has a lot more passion than people that are
It
just
does.
like, oh, the current fighting game that's paying my bills.
It has been like maintained for like 2 decades.
Yep.
Like competitive Smash in one form or another, and all of the games pretty much are like still somewhat alive. Like Melee's gone, like has been maintained for the entire duration of time. There are still like small segments that play Brawl and Smash 4. Alt is still massive. So yeah, it's a very successful franchise, to be honest, and it is like underrated in terms of how much it's appreciated, I think, by a lot of people.
And it's all community driven too, which is what I find absolutely impressive.
Yeah,
I
especially,
think that's one of the best reasons to be part of the community is it's just we're in control of our destiny.
Yeah.
Nintendo can't really pull the rug from underneath us. Well, they can try.
They've tried.
They've tried.
I was actually going to mention this later, but I was going to ask you, but we're kind of on it now. What are the primary changes you've seen in the scene over that 14-year period?
Oh, there's a lot.
So many cultural things, especially.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like broad themes. One is that it used to be just, I don't want to say unprofessional or inappropriate, but
those would be the words, though.
Yeah, like I imagine I remember it wasn't uncommon to hear people go, you just got raped.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Whereas you wouldn't be talking like that.
No, you'd be actually just banned straight away.
Yeah, I don't think like I don't think it was like back then people were like more misogynistic or
it was just like a different culture, right?
It was just more of a language
It's
thing.
just how
like,
it was.
Yeah, like I don't feel like people were actually going around assaulting each other or being inappropriate.
They didn't mean it. There was no venom or whatever.
Exactly.
It was just in that era. It was just more appropriate to say it. Like it was.
Yeah.
It was especially now because back then, like calling it a slur or whatever.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have called it that. It was just an insult.
It's just that's how you talk.
And
it's
that's
not
just
like,
how they saw
because
it.
I think like a lot of now we're on social media and stuff a lot more. So you know, back then you wouldn't have said something and someone had their smartphone out recording you to put it on. Like that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Whereas now, you know, if you're going to go around abusing someone and just being, you know, just horrendous, that's going to go up.
It's a tough one though, because it's like in retrospect, obviously it was like never okay, but at the time it was just like. It's just the vocabulary, and you never...
It didn't feel like anyone was being hurt.
No, you never thought like that it was...
But the thing is, the people that it makes feel uncomfortable are the ones that hear it, don't say anything, and then just go away and never come back again.
To a tournament again,
that's kind of how I came to understand it, because I feel like I was kind of abusive myself, let's be real.
I mean, we mentioned this...
But all in good fun.
It's fun.
We mentioned this on like a previous podcast where like I, in particular, I don't know if you remember, but I would like, maybe when I was like 18, 19, 20... go to tournaments and I'd sit on a setup and I would just like viciously berate the people I was playing for.
I love that, yes.
Well, the thing was like they did too.
It was
like,
funny.
They would piss themselves laughing.
Yep.
And then but if someone would come up to me and be like, hey, like I don't really appreciate that, then I'd stop.
Yeah.
It was never intended
You'd respect that boundary.
Yeah, I was never intended
I
to.
won't do that,
I was like literally just trying to make people laugh.
Like I felt comfortable trash talking you at any point.
Yeah, we did it. We did it mid set.
That was just like,
yeah.
Like that was, I have found a lot of fun in that. But like something like Ari, I wouldn't trash talk mid set.
No. Well, you have to have the rapport to do it. You don't go,
I mean, I feel even bad taunting against Ari mid set, and that's legitimately within the game. So, There's been another change that I think is actually really significant. It's just the technology side.
Yeah, the streaming.
Like, I remember some of the early tournaments not even having TO, and I remember I don't remember what it was. There was one tournament where I don't remember who the organizer was, but trying to convince them that this is why we should do a double elimination bracket and not a single elim on pen and paper.
Yeah.
So, I've seen it go where I actually think TO was revolutionary software, even though everyone thinks it's a piece of crap now, but that basically standardized how things like double elimination worked, standardized things like seeding, as well as going from getting knocked out of the winners bracket to going into the losers bracket in like an organized kind of way. That became superseded by challenge in the sense that challenge allowed it to be viewable online. Because I remember when I was still running like Smashbox, there was a tournament I was running in Smash 4 that I was still doing on TO because I preferred the control that I had over it and the seeding features in it.
Well, we used to seed the losers bracket sometimes.
Yes, you could do that. You can't do that on challenge.
No.
Yeah, so that alone I thought was good. Like, you can prevent conflicts happening in losers bracket, which you couldn't on challenge. So as far as I was concerned, that was like unique functionality. But then I think as streaming became more prevalent, because if you're streaming, you're going to want to know what the bracket's up to.
Exactly.
So challenge became the legitimate thing there. Then Smash GG, which is now Start GG, came out. That feels like more of a heavyweight thing. Like, it's been taken over by Microsoft now, so I can only see that going a lot further. I do think there is a niche for something in the middle. There might be something in the works somewhere for that.
It was interesting even for a while, less so these days, but you'd see like weeklies would
Yep.
use challenge.
That's
'cause
still,
it's
that's still not
fast
uncommon
and,
these
you know,
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then monthlies, majors, that was for the Smash CG where
Yep.
you have the landing pages and
Yep.
more information you can pack into it and stuff like
So
that.
what I
So
want
they
to
just have a
what
different
I want to
purpose.
see from a platform is something, and I believe this will happen. Is something that has the simplicity of challenge, because I feel like a lot of the stuff in Start GG is just overkill if you want to run a small tournament.
Absolutely.
I think it needs to have a mobile app, which is just like the Start GG mobile app. It just doesn't work well enough on mobile. And I think they need to bake a few of the Smash features into it. Like, I think you can bake into it, especially this is more so for online tournaments than in real life tournaments, but things like stage selection can be baked into the interface.
Right.
Things like scissors, paper, rock,
Yeah.
double blind character picks, reporting. I think that will be the next level of tournament software that is around, but I guess it's not there yet.
And you even developed a tool, a stage selection tool, didn't you, as well, for sets? Or was
So
that someone else?
on the
that
Smash
did?
ladder, there's a lot of
Yeah.
that stuff built in there. So
Yeah.
Smash ladder, so that's something that there's a lot of work put into and just doesn't get used. But that's got, you can do double blind character selection. I'm pretty sure there's this is paper rock thing in there. There's like chat. You can chat either in like individual things, like you can pair up with people and chat, as well as like a lobby level chat. But I mean, Anther's ladder's dying from what I understand.
Yeah.
God, I
Everyone's
didn't even know it was still around.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Like, and if Anther's ladder's struggling, how is like a niche of
Yeah.
Smash One
Yeah.
gonna work?
I think it's a lot to do with kind of like the culture of like online. Like a lot of players will relentlessly shit on online because it's not offline, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of will make it hard for an online ladder to succeed.
I feel like some of them, I feel like for it to succeed, it needs to be baked into it kind of like how Slippy is. Like, Slippy is absolutely revolutionary for the Melee scene. And from what I understand, like, you can log on and do, like, I don't know if it works like this, but I'm pretty sure you can, like, log on to a match, and when you do the match, you get, like, you know, your ranking updates just out of the thing.
That's sick. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I think, right, like, Rubs of Aether has stuff like that. I know you've got, like, your GSP on Smash, but I just do not feel like...
It's so frustrating to know how good like something like Smash Ult could be if
It had that.
they had stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, if they were just like more competitively inclined and stuff, it could just be actually like the premier fighting game probably, like globally. It could be so good.
I guess I've always looked at it in terms of in-game development, you get a limited budget and limited amount of resources, and there's a lot of things that, like, even just in the menu design, that I wish were like that. But I feel like they've invested all of their things into stuff like getting the rights for characters like Sora and getting animations and all of these little references that you don't even know. So as much as I wish that online was a lot better, if that came at the cost of just some of the magic of the other cast, and this feels like something weird thing to say as a competitive player, because, you know, like, I'm just seeing, I've been playing Kingdom Hearts recently, and now I've gone back and seen the Sakurai presentation. There's a whole bunch of just photos that are in there that he's actually recreated scenes from Kingdom Hearts using characters in Smash, and I find that really awesome. But it's like, those are the kind of things that they put effort into, but it just has zero value to competitive players. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a competitive player, but I also try to stay really in touch with the casual side of Smash, because I think ultimately it is. It's a casual game. Like, we all play it competitively, but we're the minority.
Yeah.
Like, we really are.
Yeah,
so.
like
That's
less than 1%.
Yeah.
I think the ultimate like casual experience was Subspace Emissary though.
Oh, that was pretty good. Yeah.
Like
Absolutely, the cutscenes and everything.
I think there's a way you can like make it so that your game is primarily casual, and then have these things that make it so that competitive players can play it without. And there's like a lot of simple things. We were kind of discussing this before the podcast, but like even just having some of the stages be able to be toggled as hazards on and hazards off.
Yeah.
Would be a
Well,
start.
it just doesn't interfere with the casual experience at all. It's the sort of thing like they wouldn't even notice, but for competitive, it like matters a lot, and it's like not a very difficult thing to implement either. So
I feel like it's easy to say that, but as a programmer, I always what I wish Smash was is, instead of being a game that's released once every 5 or so years, if it ended up being like a live service game, where it's just like, you know, you get maybe 3 or 4 characters a year, and there's just, because development stopped on it. Like, they do
Yeah.
development bursts for like a few years, they get a bunch of stuff out, and then it stops, and then it's like, okay, we're going to start up the new game in like 5 years time or whatever. I just wish if it was just a continual service, you'd have a stream of DLC, which I'd love it, but I know a lot of people think there's too many characters in the game. But just if that would allow continual development, because they did respond to quite a lot of things during the dev time, like them adding in small battlefield. I thought was
that was
genius.
great.
Like that was a great
That's
thing.
great.
And they've done something else I can't remember that I really liked, but they are aware of the competitive scene. Like, it's definitely not a focus, but they have done some things that I've been like,
they did it in Smash 4 and Ult. They definitely added like more competitive aspects to it.
It looks like they're
even,
trying,
Full
but
Glory
they're
and
just
stuff.
maybe not very good at it.
Maybe. I mean, it's never been their wheelhouse, like
No.
competitive,
No,
like
it's
not their
Nintendo.
priority.
No,
It's
of
really
course
just them throwing a bone. For,
Yeah, I
guess
there's
so.
there's no benefit to
Well, I
them.
feel like they're just not as experienced at it. They're not
As
like
well.
Microsoft or whatever. Like
But-
Nintendo, they don't like make competitive games.
Does
generally
it
speaking.
not benefit them though when you have things like Apex streaming a
Well,
tournament
I
and
don't-
you have like
I don't know.
10,000 people watching? Like this
I speak,
isn't
advertising.
I
advertising.
speak to a lot of casual Smash players. I play Smash with people at work.
Yeah.
I know other people just outside of my normal Smash circle that play Smash, and most of them have not heard of a single fighting game tournament. They could not tell you who's top tier. Like, there's a guy at work that legitimately thinks Little Mac is top tier. Like that.
Probably is for the level he plays at. to be
Oh
honest.
well, he's
Pretty sure Sakurai
one
thinks
punch
that
man.
too.
He can KO you with one punch.
Yeah.
Like, how is that character not the best in the game?
Well, that's
Like,
the thing. People. We'll probably talk about this later, but the aspect of like a best character in the game depends on the level that you're playing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's totally varies. I remember Sakurai saying that Samus was the best character in Brawl. I think because they used to play like a 4-way like free
Oh,
fall.
was that Smash 4 in the development?
Yeah,
of
it was
in
Smash 4
Smash 4,
development?
and then they
E3
nerfed her
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
because it was like Samus is like too good, and I think they nerfed her before the release.
Well, maybe he should look at Alt Samus.
Yeah, well, I'm glad Samus is finally playable.
No.
No.
Samus, I like
Yeah.
things. I can't. I played a lot of Samus in Brawl. I
Yeah.
just can't. The character has just changed too much. For
Yeah,
the better.
she functions now.
Yeah, I know. The fact that you can you can do charge shot in midair and jump out of it, it's like, oh, where were you
Incredible.
all my life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've tried to play some Brawl Samus, it just doesn't work. I think Smash 4 Samus is really good.
Yeah.
I think she was actually quite fluid and had a lot of like
Yeah.
Yeah.
really good moves, but Brawl is just like she just doesn't work.
No.
She's not complete.
nair
It's
them at
awful.
210%,
Yeah, they
they
move
go
like a
nowhere.
meter. It's insane.
Yeah.
Nothing combos, moves don't work.
Yeah.
Like you'll hit multi hits and they won't go anywhere. You'll forward smash someone at 150, hit the sour spot, they won't go anywhere. The
Zeta was
lag.
really
Just kill them
good,
with the
though.
final
Yeah, she
Smash,
just has
bro.
this
You'll,
insanely broken
you'll down
Zeta for no
tilt.
reason,
You'll down tilt and
and
you'll
then
be stuck there
everything
for
else doesn't
50
work.
frames. Like it's awful. It's so bad.
Good.
Yeah, good. Yeah. I
was-
play Samus in Melee, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, she's too good. Like, she's still like invalidated by like the top 6.
Yeah.
She's still too good. Like,
She was pretty decent against Fox, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I think so.
but
it's a mix of like
Like,
she has a very strong advantage against him, and also it's just one of those things like. Fox will always be your most comfortable matchup in Melee. You've just played it so
Yeah,
many
it's
times.
nice
There's
to
definitely
know.
that element
Yeah, that's
up
true.
to it. Yeah.
You know what's a good thing about like not using TO anymore? Like the what's it called? TIO or
TIO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember we used to go to events and like the bracket would just like get corrupted? And you
Yes.
just lose it? That happens so many times.
I actually figured out consistently how that would happen.
Yeah?
It was when someone in the losers bracket would swap 2 players, but say swap like a player from the round 5 with round 6.
Right.
That is
okay.
consistently what did
Right.
it. So I can understand from a programming point of view that creates an invalid data structure, but I just wish the user interface blocked someone from doing it.
Yeah,
because
right.
It's a very simple. But yeah, I was able to recreate that every time, and it just made me go, okay, save it a lot of times,
Yeah,
frequently.
You'd be halfway through a tournament, and I think this happened like a couple of Brawl tournaments I went to, and then the bracket would just crash, and they'd have to just rewrite him like, oh, that wasn't the person I was playing.
Yep.
I'm playing Amaterasu now, so
Yeah.
see you later.
There was one other change that I think was quite significant as time's gone on. When I feel like Melee and during the Brawl days, I feel like I don't want to say power, but like the organization of Smash tournaments was really heavily centralized. There'd be like 1 or 2 people that would
Yeah,
run them.
yeah.
Whereas nowadays, I feel like so many people have stepped up, and not just in the tournament organization role, but in a number of things like streaming as well
Yes,
as
yeah.
just
Content in general. And stuff
content,
like,
yeah. So, like it used to be like, oh, if this one person stops organised tournaments, all of Queensland's going to crumble. Like that was
Yeah.
kind of like a legitimate
Well,
feeling.
who do we have? We had Vice for like a bunch
It
of
was
years,
Vice.
and
Vice
then
was the guy that when he left, I was like,
well,
I was
and
thinking,
then it was like Arcades for a while.
yeah,
Yeah.
he took the mantle after
Yeah.
that. But now I feel like, not to say that any one person isn't critical, but you don't. Do you know what Bus Factor is?
I know the name.
Bus Factor. So if your project, if one person gets hit by a bus and the whole project crumbles, you have a bus factor of 1.
Right.
So you want to have as high a bus factor as possible, and I feel like a bus could take out about 5 people in Queensland and would still have tournaments. So
Okay.
I just feel like it's
We're
a
in a good
stronger.
position.
Well,
Right
even at
now
the start of
between-
Smash 4, this started because we had like Lachlan running
Yeah.
UQ, we had you running Smashbox,
Yep.
we
Yeah.
had Cake running whatever that team was
Sandbags
called.
Revenge.
And I
Yep.
think there was another one as
Urisk
well.
as
Yeah,
well,
Urisk,
running
yeah.
Infinite.
So you had like a bunch.
And Jet as
even,
well.
Even just,
Yeah.
even from then we had like a heap.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much continued since then. So
And
that's
now,
that's
yeah,
really
we
good.
have the same. Like we have Jet, Blurry,
Yeah,
Jaws.
that's
Who
in
else?
one scene.
Well,
Yeah.
Queensland is quite unique as well. It's also partly because we've always had like the Sunshine Coast and the Gold Coast as well.
Yeah.
So like if they want their own communities, you already automatically have more than one tier.
Mm.
But you have Victoria where it was just Pudge for the longest time,
True.
you know, and like I think Jash and Duon helped out and stuff like that. But if Pudge left, then
Yeah.
You'd
you
be
know it would have
donezo,
just
yeah.
Dunzo.
Yeah.
You had like Big Win Beer in Perth as well, and I
Yeah.
think that actually was a bit of a problem when he left
Yeah.
because there literally just was no one. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
Cutes runs
And
it
like
now.
you need like the experience. You need to have
Um,
done it a few times and learn how to do it and everything.
Yeah.
You know?
And you had a few like Sydney kind of had a bout of I can't remember the original TO before Saucy Dancer, but he left. Saucy Dancer took over. He left. Chef took over.
Yeah.
And then Chef left. Like all in a really short
Yeah.
span, and it was a bit of a scramble. You
Did
know,
Shy ever TO in Sydney?
No.
No,
I
I
don't
can't remember who before Saucy Dancer. Then who it was.
He was.
Not
It was
that it
definitely
matters.
to Smash 4.
Okay.
I think he. I don't think he was a brawl vet. At least I never got that impression.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But it was just kind of a series, and they weren't really like building up with the next replacement either.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of
Yeah.
a shocking period. Where Queensland has always been lucky in a sense that we've
I mean,
always
it's
had
not a
multiple
job. It's
people.
not a job that you get paid for. So,
No.
like,
Yeah.
you know,
No.
you just kind of do it. It's not like you're
Yeah.
thinking about
And
your
it-
legacy or the Queen's thing. It's just a scramble to get the next tournament
Yeah.
Yeah.
going like,
And
every time.
arguably, it like is a detriment to your competitive play as well because
Completely, yeah.
sometimes you can't enter the event at all.
Yeah.
And of course, if you do, you're not like fully focused.
Yeah.
You're not able to do that. So yeah, TOs always have done a really really good job.
It's a selfless
like,
job, and I appreciate all of them.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like. It's probably easier now, I think, because the tools used are so much better and
The
more
tools, and
consistent.
there's a lot
everything.
of precedent for it.
And
there's-
people are better at attending tournaments, so you don't have to
Yeah.
like micromanage them as much as you used to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They know what to do, find
I
their
remember dumb
opponent.
things like having a tournament run where they didn't get a float and everyone wanted to pay for a $5 entry with $20 notes and that
Yeah.
like crippling.
Oh my god.
Like, you know, just dumb things like
Forgot
that.
about that.
Yeah, but now it's like, oh, just all the payments can go through Start GG.
That's God, that's
Stuff.
so good actually.
Yeah.
The worst part was when you would get to the venue early, and you'd get a TV, and then all right, everybody out. You got to do like pay for venue now. You go out.
Yeah.
You at the back of the line. You go in, pay for the venue. All the TVs are going to get back in there.
This is land smash.
Can't get any friendlies anymore. It's the worst.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about obviously Aussmash and Queensland Smash.
Yes.
So when did you decide to make that, and what was the sort of
Oh.
vision for that, and why
There
did
was
you do
a
it?
trigger where I wanted to look up my results, and I was trawling through all of these Smashboards threads.
Oh my god.
And it was hard enough to find them, and when you do find them, it's just
impossible.
like, oh, here's the top 8 out of like a 30-person
Yeah,
tournament.
yeah.
And I'm just like, look, I'm trying to do a bit of statistical analysis here. This is garbage, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
do something
Yeah.
about it.
And a lot of those threads of that top 8, they'll have like first place, fourth place, and one of the 7th places, and the rest like we can't remember.
And
Yeah.
then
how
sometimes as
people
well,
placed.
they wouldn't even make a results thread. It would be in the tournament thread itself, and out
Or
of
in
like
the general chat.
well, out
Yes.
of like 50 pages, it's on page 30. It's like, how am I
Yeah,
supposed
it's
to have
like
found
I'd have
this?
to use my memory to go,
Yeah.
okay, just trawl through all.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was
So
just made me
impossible.
furious. So
Yeah.
I think like the core reason was that I wanted to be able to just record player data. There was also a second motivation because during the Brawl period there was a lot of fragmented Wi-Fi communities. So there was people on like my Wii, there was people on
Aussie Nintendo.
Aussie Nintendo, and then there was a third one I can't remember. It was really small though.
I don't remember another
I
one.
think we should briefly discuss MMGN because I think that was like not like a large inspiration, but for
It was a
Aussmash,
huge. It was a
There-
huge because
you-
like.
yeah.
yeah.
It was huge because the way I saw it is that if you've got all of these little communities and they're all kind of, playing each other, I didn't know if I could make something that would be centralized, but I thought, there's, 3 places where people go to play Smash. I'm going to solve it and make a 4th. Like, that could be the wrong thing. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought, like, look, do you know what? I just believed, I guess, in my own ability to do that.
Well,
so.
let's be honest. I'm not even trying to like wank you off here. That your platform is like just 1,000 times better than everything else that Australia's seen in this respect.
thank
you. Yeah,
It's not
absolutely.
even comparable.
The
it's
world
just,
even, like,
yeah.
nowhere has anything
actually,
like it.
so-
My judgment was like all of these other forums were like, you know, MMGN was like a general gaming
yeah.
forum where there was a bunch of Smash people who were like, you know, they're hardcore sweaty
It,
nerds.
it was
on
actually like MMGN community like against the
Exactly.
Smash community of that site.
Exactly,
a lot
I
of the time.
constantly felt
Yeah.
like an outsider on what I thought should have been my home, and then Aussie Nintendo had an even more casual tilt to that.
Yeah.
But I thought, you know, there should be somewhere where you can feel like everyone on this site is like me. So the thing is like that in this day and age, that has just been completely superseded by Discord.
Yes.
Because like during Smash 4, like it was like the Wi-Fi thread. From a technical point of view, having a thread that runs for about 30,000 pages was something that was quite difficult to manage.
Yeah.
But it was legitimately one of the two lifebloods of the site were the player data and the forum only existed for the Wi-Fi thread.
Yep.
Whereas nowadays people just go on Discord and ask for changes. So
And for the forum game, what was it we used to play?
Mafia.
Mafia.
Yeah, Mafia was a fun one.
It's a shame that it's a shame that it's not used more these days because you could have like that more
Connected.
centralized, condensed
Because
feel.
I feel like
right?
so many of the scenes don't communicate with
They
each
don't-
other.
yeah,
outside of,
yeah.
like,
Fragmented
Twitter.
in their own Discord.
If you want to find games of Wi-Fi, you can basically pick one of the state's Discords.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
that's what it is now.
you
yeah.
kind of don't really feel welcome asking in other states' Discord.
Yeah.
I used to ask in Victorian Discord all the time because I thought that the quality of Queensland players
their
was
play-
lower
yeah.
than that of
Victoria.
Victoria.
Yes.
Yeah.
But MMGN and by extension, well, for the most part, OzSmash, you had that centralized thing. You had everyone would go to this website.
Well,
for
I
Wi-Fi.
also noticed like you knew everyone as well. So
Yeah.
when you're using the site often, like you knew all the South Australian players who I'd never spoken to and wouldn't speak to otherwise. Like you're like, oh, I know how like, and you would see like the results all the time
I
as well.
thought it was a very important point to me. One of the whole points of linking the user profile to the player profile was when you go, you go into the Wi-Fi thread and you say, hey, you know, anyone looking for games, you should be able to click on their profile and be like, oh, they've been to 5 tournaments in Adelaide and won every single one of them. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I think this is my kind of player. Like I feel like there should be
That's a
that
great
kind
idea,
of credit
And scout out who you're
yeah, and
actually
not
playing.
like in a way that they can fake that, but one that is just, you know, these are your results. You can't change them.
Yeah.
This is just, you know, it's part of your. It's transparency, which
Yeah.
is why, because sometimes people might not want to play a top player.
Or or a Rika player, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
like,
want to
so,
spend an hour practicing with a player. I'm just going to 2-stock every game, yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that probably the next version of OzSmash is going to have that all forums removed as well as the ladder.
Yeah,
like
that's
they
a
just take up an unbelievable amount of space in the code because even just to have forums, you need to be able to have threads. You need to be able to report them. The reports need to be moderatable. You might need to ban people. People want to may want to appeal the ban. You need to be able to undo. This is all this stuff that's just code that's not that needs to be managed and maintained and isn't adding value anymore. So
That reminds me, I can't believe you didn't make me a mod on Queensland Smash or OzSmash. I think I asked you once and you said, no, unreal. I literally just got
Jesus.
that flashback.
and I hand that out like Halloween candy. You must have really pissed me off that
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think there was like admins, and then there were like
There's tourney admins and forum mods.
So
Yeah.
forum mods, it was only there weren't.
Forum
many
mods
of
was
them.
like a very select few.
It was like me, Dean.
I got infracted a few times as well from memory, like 3 times I think from you.
Yep. Oh,
Probably deserved it.
I don't think I did.
I
dispute
wrote
that.
special code just to muzzle you on shoutouts at one point.
Did you?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, what was I doing?
I don't know, you said something that really pissed me off, so I wrote code that said, if person posting shoutouts name is Arrow, then just block it with a smart ass message.
Oh, yes. I forgot. Yeah, I forgot about that.
That was
But then
really
I
rude.
took it off eventually. I'm sorry.
It was like 2 weeks.
It was a while,
I used to have a lot of attitude on Queensland Smash and OzSmash. I can't remember, like, I don't know what I got infracted for, like swearing, I think one of them. And then I think I maybe like insulted somebody, called them bad. Like, maybe
You're
someone from
insulting. I
SA.
think I remember you insulting a whole group of people at
Yeah,
one point, and I'm
sounds
like,
like-
"Oh, this is a bit of a broad stroke."
Maybe they deserved it.
Maybe.
I mean,
Maybe
I think the one I was thinking of, I'm like, I completely agree with you, but I need to be.
I think you DM'd me saying, I agree with this post, but I got infracted.
Yeah,
Like,
that would have been it. It's hard because like as soon as you put something on the internet, like, it can be interpreted any number of ways.
Yeah.
And like, me and you
Just look at Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. And like me and you would be both quite abusive to each other in real life because that's just fun. But if, you know, if you see that on the internet, people can really get their knickers in a knot over that.
Well,
and rightfully so in some cases. But then, because like we had one time where we had some person who was threatening to kill himself on Wi-Fi because
I vaguely recall this.
Because he was like losing to people online.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, DMing them saying, how can you do this? That's it. I'm going to kill myself. And they're like reporting this going, I think you should look at this. And then he's like posting things in the threads about how he's going to do it. And you have to take that stuff seriously.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a joke, but at the same time, it's like, for fuck's sake, it's a video game.
Yeah.
Like,
I specifically actually remember because when you were creating Ozsmash, you came to me and I said like, here's the things that you have to do because here's what's going to happen.
Scenarios.
You need to have this ready for this, this ready for this, this ready for this, and even to like a point where you need to be ready for if someone says on the forum that that's it, I've had it, I'm going to kill myself. That you need to have suicide hotlines ready and waiting so that you can send it to them, and then that's no longer your problem. You've done what you can, and then I specifically remember
foresight,
doing that.
It was a very uncomfortable time for me because, like, I have the database. So, like, you know, if I wanted to, I could sell everyone's email addresses or, you know, do, you know, I could do a lot of evil stuff if I wanted to, but, like, I'm not like that. But one thing I've never done is gone through the messages on Aussmash, but that was the one time I made an exception was because people were messaging me saying this person's saying that they're going to kill themselves and they're sending it to me in private message. And I'm like... Yeah, and it was coming from a few people too. Like, this guy was just spamming a few people. So I'm like, all right, I need the whole context here. I need to see what... And it was just literally what they said. Like, this guy's messaged them a whole bunch of abusive things. And they're like, chill out, mate. Fuck off. That's it. I'm going to kill myself. I'm like, okay, I can see the innocent people aren't triggering him. He's just like that.
Just a bit of a fruitcake,
Yeah, but I mean, with the forums dying, like, I'm fine not to have to deal with that. I've seen what, like, BD deals with in some of the... online forums because I'm an admin in the Aussmash server mainly for like Aussmash reasons, but sometimes they'll tag like, you know, oh, admin this, or I'll just get random messages going, hey, you've banned me from this thing and I didn't do anything wrong, here's an essay about why I should get back in. And I'm just like, I'm not that kind of admin, I'm sorry. So like, I just feel like what I was dealing with is like small compared to what it is now. Like, the scene's just bigger and I'm just glad I can focus on building features. Like, it's...
So what about the ELO feature? Because when we started using Queensland Smash for the first time, that was like such a fucking cool thing.
So yeah, because initially...
Controversial too.
Oh, I've got so much to say on this.
Yeah.
So, like,
I do find a lot of that controversy was from other states, though, for the most part.
Because they were mad.
Well, but I mean, it's...
But in
mad
Queensland,
because
everyone was like freaking
it's
over
valid,
it,
though, in that, you know, if you have like one scene that's way stronger and there's like people vying for first, second, third, fourth, fifth, obviously the ELO is going to be lower than someone who's just like Ghost in SA or Jason in
just
Queensland, who
farming
are just
everyone else's,
getting
doesn't
just
have
never
losing.
losing a set.
It's not perfect,
but it's like,
very cool.
but of course, it's not like, oh, hey, we're going to give you a trophy because you're first on ELO. It's like it's like a fun thing to track, but it's like gives you a little bit of like competitive thing, like you're playing for, you know.
Because
it's a very cool idea.
The original thing I was tracking was because initially in the prototype I was just storing, because I did a prototype for Queensland Smash. I actually used that prototype to get a tech job, which I had for like 10 years. So like,
sick.
you know, I didn't actually have a job before that. I got into my first tech job because of the Queensland Smash demo. So yeah, passion projects. Do
Sick,
them. But originally what I was tracking was just, I was tracking each person's result and assigning points to like, you know, if you got first, you got this many points. You got second, you got that many. And I was able to like generate some kind of rankings from that. But I thought, oh, look, there's a lot of cases where I don't feel like this is properly weighted or there was just problems with it. So I looked into... I think in general, I decided to start storing the match data because I felt like ultimately when I wanted to look through for things like power rankings, I don't want to look at the results. I want to look at it match by match.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was a fundamental shift really early on. Instead of storing results, I still store results, but I also had to extract out the match data. And that was really the key that opened up pretty much everything to the whole site. Because it wasn't initially just going to be to record player data, but I realized once you've got that, you can do a lot of data analysis on it. So like ELO was probably the first step in that data analysis direction, but you know, it's had things like character data where I could like theoretically generate tier lists if I could just figure out the right algorithm. We've got the player compare feature.
Yeah.
You can see players' win rates because win rates aren't stored in the
it's
database. That's
fascinating.
calculated.
Yeah.
There's the head-to-head thing that you do. So
Jace being 70-1 against like certain players in Queensland and Smash and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's also like that's the kind of direction that I want to take it in because like, you know, having just the base of data is good, but the analysis part of it is what I think is really valuable and what other forums and that couldn't do. So if I'm losing the niche of being a forum, I think I need to lean really hard into the data analysis side of it. ELO is funny. The first version I had was generating ELO on page load, so it was really hard to even just get that system working. And when I finally did, it would have maybe like 4 or 5 weeks worth of matches. So to generate the ELO on page load, and I thought I was a genius. I only picked ELO because that's what they use in competitive chess. Yes. And I researched and I'm like, oh, I'm familiar with this algorithm. But then as time went on, ELO now takes over 2 hours to run.
Really?
Yeah. And if every time that happened on page load, because the page load was getting to the point where it would take 5 seconds, then 7 seconds, then 10 seconds, and I'm like, oh, this is just getting worse. Holy shit, I need to rewrite the whole thing fast. So I eventually settled on a system where I stored it separate to the database. It was generated into an XML file, which was the wrong decision at the time, but that just allowed me to generate it. I picked Thursday because it seemed to allow enough time for people to get the results in from the weekend. And then Thursday was a good time before, like if it generates on Thursday, then if you have a tournament on Thursday or Friday, which is when a lot of them were happening, then they could be there if you wanted to use it. When I changed from Queensland Smash to ausmash, I actually made ELO generate into the database, so that just allowed a lot more linking. So it's just having 2 different separate data structures was a problem. But yeah, and like there's a lot, I feel like I get a lot of people to me going stuff like, oh, I don't care about ELO, or ELO's a stupid system, it doesn't mean anything. And there's a lot of angles to it. So people say that, yet it's consistently the 3rd most viewed page on the site, behind the home page and the data page, which is like the real home page.
I mean, it's so irrelevant because nothing actually like means anything. It's outside of like literally what you're placing at tournaments, and I guess if you get money or not. Like power rankings don't actually matter. No. It's just like a bit of a thing that you can.
It matters as much as you want to.
Well, so, you put value on it if you want it to.
And I think so. They're a complementary thing to power rankings. Like I don't actually. We like to, as humans, view things like rankings as like a linear thing. We want to put people into a list and say, you know, that's it. But I can think of multiple cases where the top 3 in Queensland has been a scissors, paper, rock with each.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, you know, just the concept of rankings, I think, is imperfect. But then we have 2 kind of ranking systems that we're generally using, and it's power rankings and ELO. So the disadvantages and advantages of some of them. So ELO is instant. So like if you have a really good tournament run, then the next week ELO will push you up. Like I think that's valuable for players to get that instant.
It'll think you're 25 players better or something like that.
Yeah.
Up on that in 1 week.
But I mean that's good for people that don't want to wait 3 months or whatever to get the PR to come out. It's like
literally tracking at a win and loss basis. Really interesting.
It's predictable. Like you can know that you versus someone of this rank, and if you beat them, you will get this many points. There is literally no bias in it. So you know, not to say there is always in power rankings, but even if you perceive there to be bias,
there's just no subjectivity at all.
Yeah. So I think that's useful, and it also I've noticed a lot. Like I see this a lot on Twitter, and I like it every time I see it, where people set themselves goals of I want to get 2,000 ELO, and then after like 6 months they get it, and they're like,
that's
cool,
really,
I feel like I achieved something.
That's the thing,
so it's like if you like some people don't care about ELO, it's like, well
you don't have to care about it.
Yeah, it's up to you. Like if you want to set a goal, that's good. I think the behavior that it drives, where people are like, oh, I've got high ELO, but you know, I'm too scared to kind of lose it.
ELO camping.
Yeah. I think that is kind of a negative outcome of it. But I think if it wasn't ELO, it'll be some.
It'll always be something.
It'll have some other form of rankings.
I think I was the OG ELO camper. I was told to be anyway.
Yeah,
I didn't like traveling very much, but
you were the first person to hit 3,000, weren't you?
Probably
in Smash 4?
Probably.
Although I've changed the K value since then.
Yeah, is it down to 50 now instead of 60?
It's down to 50. Yeah. So that's still watching that one.
So we had a couple people hitting negative ELO, didn't we?
Oh no!
in Ultimate, and we thought, that needs some fixing.
Well, I mean, it's all the value that's relative off 1,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so power rankings are good in the sense that they're a snapshot in time. So one problem I have with ELO is I can't tell you what your peak ELO rank was without... So if I generate the ELO, I would have to generate ELO and then each week calculate the list and then store that list every week for like how many years to tell you what was your highest pointed in. That would make ELO take a day to run. So, so that's one of the downfalls of ELO. Whereas power rankings are kind of like a snapshot of it.
Yeah.
So I like how you can look back on a power ranking and be like, oh, at this point in time, this is what was agreed upon. I think the community contributions to it all is really good, even though I've seen a lot of vicious fighting on power ranking panels. I think if you kind of, just...
Well, it's cool. Like you see the image, you see the announcements. You have like little character icons next to you. You have like a theme.
It's
and
a really
looks
fun
cool.
tradition.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
It's
the art
actually a
is incredible.
Smash tradition for actually 2 decades. We've been like doing this. So.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And it also allows people goal set with that as well.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
they want to get onto the top 40 is a common thing. And so I feel like I don't think either of them are superior to the other, and I don't think either of them are particularly bad. They both have their faults, but I think across them both, you do get a good spread of just, instant results if you need it, and then a longer term trophy to put on your profile if you get
the more incentives you have for people to get better at the game, the better.
Yeah,
that's really what you're after.
Exactly. So I think I'm happy with where it is. I understand. I think the longer you are in the scene, the less you care about it, and I think that's right. But I think that's just part of going through the process.
I think it might depend on your scene, to be honest. When I first started, or maybe you're right, I don't know. It got to a point where, after years of being in the scene, I was like, I can't lose, first spot on Queen's NPR. Whereas when I first started playing Brawl, I actually cared way less. It was actually about defeating individual specific people. I was like, I have to beat that person next tournament. I have to beat that person
when
next
you get
tournament.
to the top, it's not about who you beat. It's about not losing.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing I felt about getting to the top. It's like, I'm not going to a tournament to win anymore. I'm going, and i.e. that if I win everything, then it's neutral.
Yeah.
And the other option is I lose either 1 or 2, and then
it's actually fascinating. Is you win tournaments and you get this massive high, and then it's kind of like working out actually. Like when you start exercising, you get this big high, and then you do it for a while, and then when you win or when you exercise, you just feel normal. It doesn't feel like anything. But if you lose or if you don't exercise in this comparison, then you feel like shit.
Yeah.
Like you don't get the big boost for having done it anymore. Which is kind of interesting. So I would
gets that resistance to it.
I would win a tournament, not lose a game. I'd be like, I'm going home now. Whatever. See you later.
The first Ultimate tournament I went to, I won. It's just all been downhill.
I actually wanted to ask you, what do you think is the best you've ever been relative in the Queensland Smash scene?
Easily
first, second, third at any point, and when was that?
I had a goal to get number 1 on ELO at one point. I got that.
I'll tell you what. I don't want to hear about ELO or power
No,
rankings.
I'm just saying my own goals
because
I goal set. I never wanted to be 1 on a power ranking because I felt like that was too long. I felt like I was just playing in my peak. The very first few weeks Ultimate came out. And that's because we're all adults now, but when
you take a bunch of time off, didn't you?
I took 2 months off to rebuild Ausmash, and in that 2 months. I also spent the first month of Ultimate's release literally playing it probably 12 hours a day.
Jesus.
So at that point, I picked Mega Man and decided I was going to stay with Mega Man. So while everyone was trying out, the 70 or so new characters, I already had a lot of... I knew who I wanted. I had a lot of stuff that carried over. I was really focused. I played a lot of Wi-Fi to learn all the matchups because that's what I felt like was the core. I just felt like I was really on point. It also probably didn't help that Mega Man's had stuff like Crash Bomber to forward smash with break shields. I didn't realize how busted that was. He had other things like being able to combo lemons into leaf shield for 25 damage, which I never did, but I just expected it to get patched out anyway because all these stuff got patched out. But just that one period where I find it hard to do that now because as an adult, there's just so many things to focus on in your life, and Smash is just playing it for 14 years. It's hard to put it above a bunch of other things. But back then, I just decided this is my one shot. I'm going to focus my life around this, and I did, and I was consistently... I was winning tournaments with 90 people in Queensland.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah.
There was also a period in Smash 4 where I think for the first year of Smash 4, you had the third basically on lock.
Yep.
And that was a pretty strong state as well.
Yep. It was you, Jace, and I was pretty much always nipping at both of you.
Yeah.
Well,
you took some sets off me.
Yep.
For sure. And you were beating Jace, I think, at the start, so...
No, you go ahead.
No, that was pretty much it.
Okay. The start of Ultimate, also a very strong period for Queensland.
Yes.
Lumi, Jace, yourself, myself, Sad Hour, top 5.
Yep.
And we even mentioned last week, or might have been the week before, like winning BAM, I was only 5th or 6th
Yeah,
in
that's
Queensland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
phenomenal.
And, you know,
Don't get me started on
So-
that again. Don't get me started.
Queensland was very strong.
Yeah.
Like if we had everyone of that top 5, top 6
Yeah.
at a major, it would have been very,
Yeah.
very good. Like Lumi, I've said this before, maybe not on the podcast, but like low key, Lumi was number 1 in Australia for the first, I think, like 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
of the game.
That's
And
interesting.
I think
Yeah.
he was.
I could
yeah,
see it because
absolutely.
the guy's a very good Smash player.
Yeah, and even you're talking about the changes between Smash 4 to Ultimate
Yep.
of Mega Man.
Yeah.
I had Battle Dolphin over at my place for the E3 where they were showing off Ultimate
Yep.
in 2018, I suppose it would have been.
Mm.
And you have they had the little character trailers
Yep.
in the number 1, number 32, whatever, showing them off.
Yeah.
And it showed Mega Man 4 Day killing.
Yes, I remember seeing that and going, what
And
happened?
Lachlan and I, we like paused the video. And we just like turned to each other slowly, like in awe. And we both like said in unison, like, we're like, Shitashi's like the best in Australia now. Oh, and yeah, went off to a really strong start.
I can't
You
believe
know.
how long it took me to realise how strong Leaf Shield was.
Mm.
Because Leaf Shield was like, it was good in Smash 4, but it
You
wasn't
got
like...
very good at it in Smash 4.
It's oppressive. It functions differently because like I used to use it to jump off
You
stage
use it
and
in
clip people.
Yeah, you'd use it in disadvantage a fair bit
Yeah,
in
but
Smash
with
4.
this one, like you can get like 20 damage
Yeah.
off it, and if it just it does all the things.
What did you used to do? You would come down, you would like up B, come down B, reverse the down B, and then you would just walk at the person and then grab if they're shielding.
You can do that in 4.
Yeah, that's what you would do.
Yeah,
Like in Smash 4.
because they made it so that you can't grab out of it in Ultimate, but I've recently found out how to do that, so that's been fun. I was looking through my Twitter profile the other day, and I found a photo of... I remembered it clearly. The first time I used Leaf Shield in a certain way against Jace, and it's a picture of like, the top 3, and whoever was third must have pissed off, but it was me and Jace, and I'm just looking at Jace with a big grin on my face, and he's just got this like glare at me, and I'm like, yep, that's when he figured out you can walk on people with Leaf Shield. Oh boy.
Well, you far and away have the best Leaf Shield usage in Ultimate that I've seen from any other Mega Man.
A lot of the top players don't use it.
They
question like whether I should be.
They didn't use it in Smash 4 as much either.
No, Kameme
yeah.
used it one time in the set, and he tried to do what you did.
Yeah.
He didn't do it as good as you. I killed him for it.
Yeah.
Did not use it for the rest
Yeah.
of the set after that. He was like, Shitashi would be hitting me
Mega
with these.
Man's play style is all around lots of low lag, like peck, ping, bing, this move. So that's why moves like down smash and even up tilt, I think. Up tilt you have to finish with because, if you get that at 0, you get punished. But yeah, Leaf Shield just has so much end lag on it that it just doesn't fit with his kit well. You have to be really careful about that. It's huge if you get it, but once people figure it out, it's a move that you can just shield.
Yeah.
Although having played against, I think it was Plump that I played in Sydney, I recently played. He's a really good Mega Man, and I'd never really played a Mega Man Ditto against like a good... I played Psyclaw online a bit, but not anyone offline. But yeah, no, it was really... I just really expected the Mega Man matchup to be just really drawn out and painful, but no, I actually had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, I really came to appreciate how hard Leaf Shield is to punish, because I know it is. I know that, like, I say, you just got to hold shield and then punish it, but I know that I turn it into a scissors, paper, rock, and if you guess wrong, I
very
get away
good
for
recognition
free.
of, okay, walking onto them has not worked out. I need to run away. Am I going to jump? Am I going to not jump?
Am I going to jump, go left, and actually go right? Like, there's a lot of... And yeah, having all of them used on me, I'm like, so I am the asshole.
I think with Leaf Shield as well, like I'm going to go into a bit of a technical thing here, but it kind of depends on what your up B out of shield is when you're playing against this.
Okay, Shadru can just Shoryuken through it. Lucina can interrupt it with up B as well. Some characters, I
was watching you play against Connor, and he was just using Rory up B out of shield, and it was just hitting you like every single time, and I was like, okay, kind of looks a little unfair. It really like...
Was this at the Rambat?
Yes.
I remember that thinking, I'm going to find a way to make this work, and at the end of the match going, why did I bother? It should have been clear after like the second time. Yeah, I regretted that big time. He adapted really well that set.
He did, yeah. I guess that it depends on your matchup whether you can like walk at people while the shield is running or not.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's definitely like I can't do it against Little Mac. Like Little Mac, if I try and land on him with Leaf Shield, all of his smash attacks
yeah, just
go
smash
through
attack,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, like there's some characters that you just legitimately cannot use them. And there's even some really funny things that like against heroes, sometimes I'll land on him with Leaf Shield if he's got bounce, and then throw it at him because it comes back, hits me, and then knocks me far enough away that he can't follow up. So there's actually there's actually some really weird like interactions that you can get with it. I've also noticed recently that if there's a Byleth off stage, you can actually jump with Leaf Shield and jump really far off stage, and if they start to fade back, you can just clip them with it, and it'll actually like gimp the Byleth like in the blast zone, because we all know Byleth's ungimpable.
Byleth being gimped never before seen.
It's yes. I've only done it like twice, but the fact that I've seen it happen, because otherwise I just can't gimp Byleth, so it's an ongoing investigation. But
So have you always found yourself drawn to the more defensive side of Smash? Have you ever thought about sort of playing it a more like aggressive character or more like a rushdown heavy character or something like that?
I wondered whether this is just me in games in general. So I'm playing Splatoon 3 at the moment, and I play the Tri-Slosher, which is one of the most aggressive weapons ever. I don't play defensively in Overwatch. I play the Hamster, which just rolls around and slams people. And then in the beta, I was playing Sombra, who basically lives in their back line. But then there's other games where I do end up playing, like in Street Fighter, I would play Dalsim. Is anyone shocked by that? Yeah, it's weird. Like, I feel like I've just... Oh, Pokemon, I'm also really defensive. Like, when I build Pokemon teams, I don't generally build it by type coverage on attacks. Every Pokemon, I think, okay, if this one's threatened, what can I switch into? And I want the whole thing to be a series of defensive switches.
So you have Toxapex in every team.
Toxapex and Ferrothorn. I recently played someone and the game came... I actually got timed out in Pokemon recently, so...
How does it feel?
No, oh, well, okay, so here's how it happened. It ended up, both of our last Pokemon were on the field. It was both Ferrothorn, but mine had a little bit less health and the opponents had a little bit more, and we had a minute on the timer. Sorry, we had 30 seconds on the timer, and I had Protect as well as Leftovers, and he had Iron Barbs. So if he did his move, he would have hit me, and I would have healed. Something would have happened, but basically I would have gotten enough health to win.
Yep.
So he just decided not to select a move for the last 30 seconds. And beat me.
And that's poetic justice.
Yeah. But that's okay. I rematched with him later, and my Ferrothorn took out 3 of his Pokemon. So, and then I ended up winning. But yeah. No, with Smash, I felt like I played Samus a lot in Brawl. I didn't feel like I played...
No, you're a camper.
Yeah, I think that comes from like the way I used to play was in 4 ways, where I would have like 2 or 3 people fighting me, and it's like my play style was always just try and survive until it's the 1v1. So I think that's just where that came from. And Mega Man, I wanted Mega Man in since 64. So when he got announced, because you did there's something you told me in Brawl that stuck with me and actually made me stick with Mega Man, is that I used to just counterpick all the time. Yes. You said I needed to pick a character and stick to it. Yeah. And then Mega Man got announced, and I'm like, oh, that's like the...
you made him from the start of Smash.
I wanted him in there. Yeah. I love the Mega Man games. Mega Man X was just amazing. I think that's one of the best games ever made. So, and I just remember when I first started playing him, like I obviously wasn't going straight into a fence, but just... the way I figured out how to play him that I was getting success was just being quite defensive.
I mean, the guy has like 4 projectiles, so it makes sense.
Logically, I'm like, majority of his moves work at a distance, so my threat zone is ideally at a distance. I can't box with people as well as any other fighter. Yeah. So, so I think Smash, because I'll play characters like Joker and be like, oh, dash backside B, oh, that's my Joker. Like, I'm terrible. Like, I do struggle to use like jabs and forward tilts and just general like
boxing tools,
basic moves. Yeah, but characters like Steve and Min appeal to me, not because, partly because they're obnoxious, but because they can like do that. They can do like the walking forward tilts.
Very cool.
And their forward tilt and jab is also the same move in air. Yeah, so
the mobile pressure.
Like I like that mobility. So as much as it's like playing defensive, I think I actually really just like his mobility.
Yeah.
Like he's got really good mobility for a camper, and I don't feel like there's camping where it's like you go to the other side of the stage and spam. But I feel like what I generally try to do is keep people like tip of lemon distance.
Yeah.
Depending on who they are. Like Sephiroth, that's where he's gonna poke me. So Sephiroth's kind of like sit a bit further out and get a crash bomber on him, and then you can go in. And there's like other characters like Roy. Like Roy will just come at you all game. So I actually will run away from Roy and like Little Mac. But in general, like I feel like he's I don't want to say it's. I know it's camping, but in my head, it's like aggressive zoning, I guess.
Okay.
Like you don't want to give up stage control, but you don't want to be next to them, and you just gotta.
Yeah.
It adjusted a lot in Smash 4 because at the start of Smash 4 I felt like you actually just played to time people out, but by the end of Smash 4 and into Old I never felt like that was actually the game plan going in, which is an interesting adjustment.
I really honestly have never played to time people out. I've just played to wait for the right... Like, I feel like a lot of getting good at games is realising that you can't just go full on all the time.
Yeah.
You've got to actually wait for the right moment. You've got to make the right opening.
Right.
And I think I'm just a patient person in general. So I think I've just always gone, I'm just going to wait for the right time. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Next thing you know, there's like 30 seconds left. Well, it's optimal for me to not engage.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it just happens a lot.
Especially against someone like Lumi. Where
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
he won't give you those openings.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
He will
Finn's
more-
another one as well. Like,
One thing that's like actually impressive is developing, you know, how good you must have gotten at developing the skill of playing out like a half-hour set or something. Because
stamina was a thing, because like it'd be the point where I'd be like, okay, I'm going to this tournament, I'm going to have lots of games going for half an hour and then another one, or got into grand finals with Lumi once, and that went for over an hour. And it made me focus on things like hydration, sleep the night before, making sure I ate before a set, even just going to a toilet before you have a set, because you could be sitting here for half an hour. Like,
I've heard that it's actually the tech to need to go to the bathroom during a set, because apparently your reactions are like marginally quicker if you need to pee. So it's actually OP as hell.
Jesus.
It's uncomfortable.
The
though.
urgency.
It's really uncomfortable.
You're moving faster.
Yeah, but
I don't know, man.
No.
That's what I've heard. I have no idea if it's even true, but
I think that's
I
just
think
going to
it's-
wind up you throwing out a forward smash when you should.
Yeah.
Like, all right, well, at least I can go now.
I'm going to give you the biggest backhanded compliment of all time.
Okay.
I think for your talent level at Smash, I think you have like exceeded sort of expectation. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I don't feel like I have good tech skill. I don't feel like I'm
Well,
particularly...
yeah, talent comes in a lot of different ways, right? So being able to play at an hour-long set and maintain focus throughout that is a talent
That's a
in and of
talent,
itself. I was never very good at that. You and Jace really good at it. Some players are good, some players aren't. Tech skill, never one of your strong suits.
No, and I can't get good punishes either. Like, I'm playing Sora at the moment. The fact that I can, with Sora, I get a 30% of damage off one interaction. I can't do that with Mega Man consistently all these years later.
Yeah.
Like, how do I get that with another character in a week? Yeah, I often think that, oh, cool, it's time for a punish, and I lemoned them. Like, in my head, it's like, well, I could have gone for a bigger punish and then gotten reversed. So I'm like, well, it's the safest. And I generally do try and play the safest over a long period of time. But I do feel like my punish game is my biggest problem. And I just suicide randomly.
You used to be really bad at that in Brawl and Smash 4.
Yeah.
A lot. You and classic Jono just...
I know not to mash Leaf Shield when I'm on stage. I press it once, because if you press it once and get hit, it won't come out. But there'd be times where I'd jump and mash it, and then I'd get hit, and then the mash would buffer it as I'm falling. That's one that kept happening a lot. I completely agree. I feel like I got very lucky. I feel like there's a lot of matches I didn't win.
It's not luck.
I dragged
It's
them
definitely
out
not
until
luck.
someone else lost it.
Maybe.
Like, that's what I feel like is...
Do you ever sort of consider when you're learning a new Smash game and you're playing it, that as the other players in your state are getting a lot stronger at their punish game and their tech skill, do you feel any sort of pressure that they're going to... They're becoming really optimal.
Yeah. You can feel it. Like, they'll get... Like, Ari's the big example of this. Like, he plays Ike, and like, he'll grab me and I'll take 50 damage, and that is 25 lemons.
Yeah.
So I can feel like I've hit him with 20 lemons, and like I'm winning all these neutral interactions, and then he gets one grab and I'm like, great, I'm behind. Like, it feels like it's on me to be getting more from punishes, but it just hasn't been the thing. I'm trying to focus on it more now, but I just it's not my strength.
It's just never been the strongest point of your gameplay, like respectfully.
Yeah.
But
legitimately,
it's not even just that they get better throughout the scene. It's specifically their punishes get so much better that maybe you could make 5 mistakes on a stock and you could win the stock, whereas now you can make 2.
That's exactly
because
it,
they're so optimal with the punishes.
Or even with spikes, like DFS is quite good at just going for offstage spikes, and that's like, I'm dead at 20 now.
Yeah,
like,
that's kind of thing that happens in like most Smash games, is that explosiveness ends up ruling the metagame at the back end of the game's lifespan. Camping is good early, and then the back end, it's like, you look at all the Smash games, this kind of happens, it becomes really explosive, and it's like, you can't lose like neutral more than 3 times, you're going to lose your stock. Yeah. But as I was saying, like relative to, I guess, like the overall like tech skill talent level, I think you've like done really well across like 3 different Smash games too. So Brawl, what was your peak in Brawl? I think maybe at the end of the game, you might have been second in Queensland. Depends if you count a
Maybe.
polo. I remember you beat me in our last set. The first set you ever beat me in was our last
feel
ball
like
set.
if I rose to the top, that was more just me picking like ice climbers and chain grade.
I mean, but
people,
they were
and a lot of
legal.
the
They were
other-
legal.
A lot of the other top people like kind of dropping off a bit. So I feel like
Yeah.
I just filled a bit of a vacuum. I was always surprised I did quite well with Mega Man because I feel like he's one of the most technical characters in the game.
Yeah,
Like,
he has
I
a lot of
actually
stuff.
want a technical
Well, like
character.
I know in like Smash 4, you never really got the blade drop into like footstool stuff. Where Kamehameha like
crazy jab
popularized.
block
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I always saw that kind of stuff, and like I'd practice it and train it, and then I'd go for it and just consistently get punished for going for it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I either needed to commit to that to get it a lot better, but I was just having a lot more success just... I always just treated players like Mega Man bosses. You spend the first like... you just spend the first minute seeing what their attack patterns are and thinking, okay, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
How do I dodge it? And then looking where the openings are. And then once you've got that downloaded, and because too, you'd start out, you'd play quite defensive, and then that forces them to do things. Then it's like, oh, cool, now they don't expect me to go for random spot dodge up tilts.
Yes,
Like it's being able to kind of switch modes was, I feel, very useful.
I tell you what, it was frustrating. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Good.
I play with like I play Smash 4, and I'm like, especially at the start of this game's lifespan, I'm really fast.
Yes.
I was dashing around. I'm a crazy speed guy,
you had good movement.
and I'm playing against you,
Crazy
and I'm like,
speed guy.
I must beat him. I must, because like I'm playing like 50% faster at least. Like I must beat him. Like just hand diff,
Yeah,
like hands
yeah.
diff. And then there was a certain point where I couldn't beat you with Diddy. I was actually just like, I was just losing. I was like, I don't know, like how can I be losing this?
Yeah.
I'm so much faster.
Yeah.
And I actually like probably the only player in the country, I think you and Jace would force me off Diddy. There was a period where I was picking Falcon into Jace,
Yeah.
and I would pick DK into you.
You're picking DK, you also
Yeah.
beat me with
Pit.
Pit.
Yeah, Pit, yeah.
I could not beat your Pit just using dash attack for some reason.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're DKing, but that's because you had the ding dong.
Just the
I
ding-dong,
do
yeah,
feel like
just the
Mega Man
ding-dong.
counted Diddy in Smash 4, so I think that was just a very fortunate.
I think at the time I thought Mega Man won, but retrospectively it's probably even. I was probably having a bit of a sook, but I think it's like even. But it was frustrating because
considering Diddy wins most matchups,
Yeah.
for a character to go
yeah,
even is
yeah,
a win.
you always you feel like also if you're used to winning every matchup, then you have one that's even. We've mentioned this before. It
Yeah.
feels
yeah,
like
it feels
you're losing.
relatively.
Yeah.
Mega Man's a really interesting character to look at his matchup spread because I feel like there's a lot of ones that he just gets smoked by. Like Roy is a problem.
Yeah.
I find Mewtwo unreasonably
I feel
different.
like there are characters, at least in Smash 4, which is what I know more about, if they can really just force into you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
the speed
I
one.
feel like Fox.
I used to think it was
in Smash 4.
reflectors. A Smash or Fox. Fox is really good, but if you can stunt out his aerial approaches with fair, he doesn't have any range in the air. But he can still like he can actually force you to approach by just running away and
Yeah.
turning around lasering.
I feel like Smash 4, he can, like, especially at the end of the game, he's just going to shield something, he's just going to punish you for 80%.
Yeah.
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 And it's just too hard. And you can maybe gimp him, but...
Mega Man feels like he's got all of those hard matchups that I don't want to say they feel impossible, but they feel unfair. But then there's other characters that just randomly I just feel like I shit all over. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to say Snake's easy because a good Snake is actually terror. I find the Snake matchup fascinating.
Yeah.
Like it's literally like projectile spam, but it's so coordinated and just intricate that like I really like playing Finn's Snake, but it's so hard. The matchup does not feel like it's at my advantage. But I do feel like in general, like I've got huge advantages against characters like Snake and some other ones. I can't even think of them now. Some characters just get completely shut down by Mega Man, so I think it's fair that I have some that shut me down. It's
Do you have a favourite matchup across every Smash game?
ooh,
Like, the one that's just the funnest to play? There's some that you would have
Mega
played
Man
so many
Snake's
times.
probably up
Yeah,
there.
up
Like
there.
seriously, I do really enjoy that one. There's so
A good matchup, I feel like you want it to be like a 60-40 in your favour. You
There
want to feel
was-
like it's
I-
kind of
I-
even, but you win a little
I
bit.
really
Yeah.
enjoyed. This is probably just evil though. I really enjoyed playing against Luigi in Smash 4.
Oh,
He just couldn't get in.
you.
I
don't know if
but
you're-
that was like not fair.
I feel like, I don't know if you remember, so Arcade's famously coined this
100-0.
100-0 matchup unwinnable, literally unwinnable for Luigi. And then I tried to play Luigi into you like next tournament because Matt and I stopped getting on. Matt is Arcade's for those who don't know. And I was like, no, I'll do it. Watch this. And I got like a stock lead and I was like, this is fine. And then I just got like viciously camped out and I was like, oh, come on, man. Just like, I just want to win
remember that.
a
I
game.
wasn't taking you seriously
Yeah.
at first, but then I'm like, okay, I have
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
I had like better conversions than Matt at that time, but I don't think my overall like neutral was probably as good as his.
It's changed a lot now because of his little That
The
thing,
plunger.
the plunger. Yeah, the plunger actually is really difficult.
So
to
long.
So long.
It shouldn't be a Z-Air, and it shouldn't be like the lowest committal grab in the game. It shouldn't be either of these things.
Yeah.
But it is. So
What's your biggest upset across all Smash games? Can you think of one, like a set that stands out as like one you really didn't expect to win, or people didn't think you'd win that you won?
Oh.
I mean, you beat me a couple of times, which would have been, I think, probably.
There was a time I took a game off Tedith.
Oh, did you?
Remember that in Brawl?
No, I don't remember, but
I took
could.
a game off
Maybe I
with
do.
Wario with Samus, and
Ooh.
that was like, oh, this is great.
That's
and
so
then,
funny.
And then I think he went.
You
to
went Wolf? Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he
think I
went
actually
to
do
Wolf.
remember that.
Um,
Oh, that's so funny.
that's a little embarrassing.
That's pretty funny.
I mean, to be fair, nobody so we played like Wolf Samus online so much, and I was like, how can anyone fucking lose this? His character is so bad. But if you hadn't played it a lot, you're like, oh, he's like planking me.
Yeah.
Like, how do I get him off the ledge? Like, he's in some characters struggle to do this in Brawl, and we didn't have a ledge grab limiter this time either. And then Warrior would struggle for sure. It's like, how do I get him off the ledge? So I can understand how you could lose a game sort of randomly without,
That was just one game though, but because that was when I wasn't considered a good player, and Tedith was like probably the best Brawl player in the country.
Probably, yeah.
So I was like, "Ooh, that was pretty good." Yeah, it's just one game. I feel like there's been a few majors where I've just had a decent run of the interstaters, because especially at the start, I felt like I stood a fair chance. I remember beating Tommy. That was kind of bad though, because in one of the matches, his controller had the wrong buttons on it, so I won one game. I won a best of 3. Sorry, best of 5. Yeah, I mean, happened to me when I versed Taicho. I started off 0 to death to him and then suicided twice, like because my air dodge was actually as B, so I air dodged to the ledge twice and just crash bombed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on me. Yeah, I can't think of any. I'd have to look at my results, but. I think just in general, I've had decent... I remember my best tournament run was where I got 5th at Expand Gong 1.
Oh, nice.
I was pretty happy with that.
That's good, yeah.
Yep. There was a really terrible moment where I fought Juon for 5th, and I beat him 2-1 against his Fox, and then I'm like, oh, I was really close. Yeah, this is what I was watching for on your Fox. Yeah, you were doing this, so I was just carrying it with that.
It's best
Someone
of 5.
comes over and goes,
It's
best of 5. Then he won the next game, and I'm like, oh, shit. But then I ended up getting the 5th one. I'm like...
Oh, you won? So you won?
Yeah, I won in the end, but I was like, I really feel like I don't want to be someone that just hides my... If I don't help other people to get better, then I'm not going to get it better myself.
Yeah.
So, like, part of me at that time was like, just don't tell anyone what you were doing. But I'm like, I can't be like that.
Yeah.
I feel like... I agree, but I feel like if you're playing against someone who's better than you, then keep it to yourself.
I can see both sides, and I don't think either of them are wrong. And especially when you get into an area where it's like, I don't know, if you're like top level, like I can imagine, I don't know, Jono versus DD, like maybe they don't want to tell each other stuff like that if they're in grand finals at a major, because they might end up beating they're in winners finals.
But they know everything at that point.
I'm just saying,
yeah.
There's times where that just does not make sense, but I guess I've just never gotten to that high of a level.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like, if people always ask me for like advice on playing Diddy or whatever, or against it, I would always try to.
Yeah.
I never maybe Jace I wouldn't, but Jace would never ask me.
I just legitimately don't know how to play against Mega Man. Like, I generally tell people what I see other people doing and what I'm thinking, but I don't like. He's kind of like character I've got the least matchup experience.
I think this is the problem, right? Like, it's all fine and well to say, oh, like if you don't like tell others like how to beat like X, but then I've played against Steve players and they're like, oh, just like side B the minecart, and that doesn't work.
Well, the thing is, people maining like a character, they only remember the times their broken option doesn't work. They don't remember the times it does. So it's like easy for me to say, oh, just hit monkey flip in Smash 4. Like when I monkey flip, just like hit it, because there's not much range. Just hit it with a move.
It's not good advice.
It's not good advice, because I remember people, like, envision people doing that to me, but it's like not. It's very rarely planned or something.
Yeah.
So it's like, honestly, you should ask the player who like beats me or goes even with me. That's who you should ask, because I don't know how to play against Diddy, because I don't play against Diddy like ever, right? Yeah, so it's tricky asking like the player for like advice, like sometimes, but I would usually prefer to go to the player who like beats that player or goes even with them.
That's actually
better.
And it's easy when you got someone that beats that player that plays the same character.
Yeah,
the way that you beat a character with one character is different to another. So
I don't know. I think there was There was a time where you were playing Diddy in Brawl, and I messaged because we ended up having a Brawl tournament, online tournament, and I was like, I'm going to run into Kai and he's going to play Diddy, and I was losing to it all the time, and I messaged Vice on Smashboards, and I said, how do I play Wolf versus Diddy? And then I ended up winning the set in like grands of our online tournament.
There's a video on my channel of me beating Jace. I think he's Olimar with Diddy. I think I may have even two-stocked it. And
Diddy is Smash in Brawl.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't even remember playing Diddy.
No, I did for a
Was
little
I?
little period before the Ice Climbers, I think before the Samus. But I didn't know you two-stocked his Olimar. That's funny.
I played Rob at the first tourney I went to.
You played, I think we played at our second tournament, we played against each other. And you played Meta Knight and then Zelda, which is a very odd distribution of a placement
You've
on
got
the
the
tier
best
list.
character and you've got like the second worst character.
And also, you cheated.
I probably did.
You did cheat, yeah?
Did I?
You infinite dimensional caped in
Oh, yeah,
our first
yeah,
game. And then Shai's sitting behind me, we're laughing about it, and Shai goes, that's illegal. That's like against the rules. And I'm like, shut up, doesn't matter. Because I always actually thought this tech was low-key kind of useless, to be honest. I never thought it was like that useful.
I remember like doing it just because I thought I could and thinking, this is useless. Like
It's kind of
because
useless.
The reason I was banned is because technically you could infinitely disappear.
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine getting like
Do
a
that
1%
for 7
lead
minutes,
and then just nah.
Yeah. It'd be interesting if that was legal and you could just like not do it for like more than a minute or something. But I think nobody's going to do that. To be honest,
the
I don't think.
degeneracy would have been impressive.
But then you went to Zelda next game, which was
I
very
liked
funny.
Zelda.
Yeah.
I just liked her up smash in Brawl.
You know, in
I
Brawl,
like her up
So
smash
does-
as well as
in
well.
Brawl,
so
the
does
first
Sarah.
tier list of Brawl, she was like 18th. Astonishing.
17.
Yeah, everyone must have been a Wi-Fi player early on in Brawl.
I mean, I can see her being a noob stomper.
Yeah, she was,
100%.
yeah, running
I mean, the
fast.
up smash
you know,
is just
yeah.
like so broken, and so is the down tilt.
Yeah, she
right?
had-
Like the up
Oh,
smash
down
is
tilt was
Yeah,
the up
ridiculous.
smash is frame 6, and I mean,
It had a cool sound effect too.
it did have a-
All of the Brawl sound effects
They
were really
do.
chunky.
They do.
It's funny.
Yeah.
We actually did
Really
mention
good sound design.
the sound effect of Zelda's up smash in maybe the last podcast.
Maybe.
You know the ch.
Yeah.
But this move would like chain into itself
Yeah.
Yes.
on like heavy
Yeah.
fast fallers.
Yeah, Wolf, I
And
think
then
you
it
do
would
like
kill you at
3
90.
times.
So
yeah.
that's
awful.
like
It's annoying.
yeah,
And
really
then,
fun.
but then people
Well
got,
designed.
learned to SDI, and then it wouldn't kill like unless you were a heavy fast faller. You just SDI at the top, and you'd never die to it. I've had a few people pick Zelda into me. I played against your Zelda in bracket, and Jace's Zelda in bracket at the first tournament I ever won. In Brawl, I don't know why everyone's picking Zelda
It's
into
a
me.
fun character. I like Zelda.
Weird. A more lighthearted thing I wanted to talk at the end of the podcast was since you've had so many tags, I wanted to ask you. Well, I've had one.
I feel like you've had more than 3.
Look, you're the only person at this table that hasn't changed your
Yeah,
tag. So
it's too
yeah,
low.
sit
It's
on your
too-
high horse, mister. But,
My Discord pitch has been the same for like 10 years as well. Or however long we've used it for, 6, I don't know. But best and worst tags in the country.
worst.
All right, I'll start.
Dr. Anus.
Was that best or worst?
Do you need to ask?
Some people would
I'm
say
gonna
that's
say
a,
worst.
it's pretty bad. I think Defective Dagger is awful. That's terrible. DD's fine. Defective Dagger is awful.
I prefer to just call him Detective Darren. At this
Yeah, that's good.
That's a good
That's
tag.
good. Yeah.
You should change it to that.
What do we got? Like,
Gosh.
I'm trying to think of some names. Like Jace is
There-
good. Luminescence
It's
good.
decent.
There are some
Yeah,
really bad
Luminescence, a good
tags,
one. Yeah.
and most of them are like Matt Bab 4. That's
That's
awful.
terrible.
Yeah,
Terrible.
if
You,
have,
you
like,
got to change that one,
numbers
Chief.
Or special characters,
Yeah.
or or even a good rule of thumb is like if especially like changing tags as
Yeah.
well. If the one that you're changing to has more syllables than either your name or your original tag,
Yeah.
infinitely like just objectively worse. No one's going to call you that ever, or they're going to shorten it. Like
Yeah.
defective dagger or battle dolphin. That's DD and BD.
You need to
That's always
have
going to happen.
like it has to be like what Korean and stuff like StarCraft players do, where it's just like an English one word, like faker or ambition. Like those are sick.
Stardom.
Yeah, or you can have like a really hysterically funny name. Seymour Butts even. Hey,
That one was that's pretty high up there.
pretty absurd.
Yeah.
I
There-
thought-
one,
you can have
a
one of those
legendary
two.
tag is Blue Eyes White Privilege. That's a really good one.
That's
What?
pretty good. That's pretty good,
I haven't
actually.
heard that one, Jesus.
Whose was that?
I don't
Eyes
know.
Wide
Oh.
Privilege.
Yeah, just some.
You don't know him?
I don't know.
That's
I don't
pretty good.
remember.
There was one, I really liked Villainous.
Villainous is not bad.
Because Villainous was a
Heard-
villager and nest
Yeah,
player.
yeah, it's good. That's good.
So I thought
Also,
that-
doesn't just sound stupid.
No,
Sounds alright.
yeah, I thought that was an absolute genius one.
Yeah.
So, and their name was Venus as well. So
Yeah.
it was
It works on a lot of levels.
Yeah, I'm like, this is like hitting all the puns. Like,
What about Corpse Create? Is that good or bad?
oh,
Can't really talk about
I think
him
it's
anymore.
not very good.
I think it's okay. It's like
It's-
mid-tier.
A bit clunky.
It's
Yeah, it's a bit
and it's
clunky.
one word as well. So it's
I like Defective
It's one of those ones
Dagger.
where it just
He should go
devolves to
CC
corpse.
instead. Yeah, Corpse. Corpse
Yeah.
is okay.
Ghost
One
bone
word.
to ghost. As
I'll
well.
never forget. The funniest thing, Bijou, which is... Oh God, does anyone know who Bijou is? I mean,
Yes.
Victorian people will.
Bowser a junior player.
Yeah. But he's a Victorian player, and we were like way early in Smash 4. We're talking about Ghostbone, and he says this line that cracks me up. He goes, "Oh, you mean Casper's erection?" And I just, and I just thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. I was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe that's a better tag than Ghostbone.
he
I don't
dropped
know.
the bone part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he? He's just Ghost now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone remembers. I might have even spoken about this on a previous podcast, but in the Smashboards era, Ghost and there was a guy called Grim Tuesday. And these two,
I love how quickly he knew that.
these two would follow each other around on Smashboards and back each other up. Like Ghost would say something like, "Oh, Jigglypuff is like better than Bowser," and then Grim Tuesday would chime in the next post and be like, "Yeah, I've always said this. This is exactly right. Everyone should listen to Ghost," and vice versa. Both of them would do it to each other.
Yep.
It got so bad to the point where 80% of Smashboards, so thousands of people, are just calling these two Grimbone.
Grimbone. Yeah.
That's so
Like a
funny.
single-
That's so good.
It was really funny because one time I'd like see them doing that, and then I went on Pokemon Showdown and I saw them doing the exact same thing on the Pokemon Showdown chat. I'm like, oh Jesus, this just.
I do remember going through like the Smashboards, and you would see like last post by whoever it was, and like all of them were just Grim Tuesday and Ghostbone for a while.
Yes.
Like on
Yep.
every thread, not even in Australia, just every thread all across the entire platform. Ghostbone, Grim Tuesday.
Yeah.
Really funny. I'm trying to think of more good or terrible tags.
I can tell you a really terrible one because I don't even know how it was meant to be pronounced. Juon's like
Oh,
Oh,
Voyak. Or
that. Yeah, sorry, that
I want
was
to say
terrible.
Yovak.
Or your
No, it was Voyak.
I know it was, but I want to say Yovak when I read
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that just because of the tennis player?
I guess.
It sounded like a tennis player
Yeah,
to me.
yeah.
It sounds like Djokovic.
Yeah,
It looks
Djokovic.
like
Yeah,
Djokovic.
that's-
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's what I thought when I first
Yeah.
saw it, and
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
He made the
What
right
is this
decision
massive
to axe
tag?
it.
Yeah.
well, he only axed it because he didn't know
He said because nobody could pronounce it.
nobody could pronounce it, and that kind of
Good
stuff.
sign.
He,
It's bad
Yeah.
tag.
he
Yes.
told us about it. He was like, "Oh, like I went to a tournament, and it was like the first time I was using this tag." And he went up to the tournament organizer and he said, "What's your tag?" And he said, "Voyak." And he's like, "How do you spell that?" And he's like, "I don't know." So yeah, if you don't know how to spell your tag, it's probably not a very
Yeah.
good tag.
If someone was going to put him in the kiddie chair right now for that.
I felt embarrassed that a player in Newcastle who's now in Vic, Bussy, I didn't know what that
Oh,
word meant,
Bussy,
and I
yeah.
called him Bussy for a long time.
Yeah, maybe you should
And
anyway.
he looked at me quite like, "You're an idiot," and I could never figure out why, and retrospectively I've come to understand it.
Pussy is a better tag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was fun, I didn't know what it was a reference to, but now I'm like, oh.
Wave Guard is kind of cool.
Yep,
Yeah.
Or Wave, yeah, that's
very
alright.
good tag.
Do you remember I used Hades for like
yep, I like
6
that one.
years? Hades is alright.
And a cool game came out
Not
called
bad,
that.
not bad. Did it?
Yep.
There's been some really bad ones. I wish I could remember them. Like terrible. Like all the O2ers have just awful names.
Yeah, we should.
What was Sonder's old name? I remember Sonder had a name and he was really embarrassed by it and I had to change it. I can't remember what it was.
Really? There was a one before Sonder.
Yeah, before Sonder. Something like smokes too much weed or
Oh
something
my
like something like really inappropriate.
Yeah.
And then then he's like, "Yeah, I don't want that on the internet. Can you change it?" I'm like, "Yes, gladly." Like,
Yeah.
yeah, Sonder had a bad one.
Most states are they've got like Kira, Shire. Those are all okay. All the top players in each state are like always okay.
Yeah.
They've got like the like.
It's like
Ted F,
one
Shire.
to two syllables, first
Yeah.
names,
Usually just like
or
a
names
one
often
word or
work
something,
quite
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Steve Guy's tag is particularly good.
No,
Steve
Steve
Guy
Guy 96
87
I mean,
or
that's-
something.
yeah.
But that's like all the Steve players do. So we were mentioning it on Discord before. They all have just like a. They,
Yeah, it's
they,
all
they
Gilbert or,
deliberately
like,
make their names
Huey.
like stupid.
Yeah,
Just like first names.
I like that tag. He's like a dedicated like Steve player, and he likes the game. So I'm like, oh, it actually fits.
But they all do that. Like, there's who was the guy who was playing against
I've won.
like I mentioned on Discord the other night playing
Jake.
against. Yeah, it's like Jake.
Mm.
They all do this. They're all just called like a name, just like Henry or something. It's like what do you, like maybe one of you could do it, but like you're actually all doing it. It's just like a concerted effort or something. It's weird.
we could probably look at like some tournament results and be like, oh, that tag is bad.
Yeah.
But like these tags are so bad that they're actually unrememberable.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
And
what
so
I'll
that's
do.
why we
I'm
actually
gonna
can't.
make a top 10 for next week. I'll do a top 10 best and worst tags
that'll be
that I
good.
can find.
Okay.
Obviously, I won't encompass like the 2,000 players who have entered a tournament, but I'll have a look, find the top 10 best and worst tags.
You could even just look at the
Yeah.
40 and be like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, these tags are not particularly good.
Because there are some rippers, and there are some really, really fucking bad ones as well.
I do love how in the Smash community and just gaming communities in general, you get to choose your own name. I
Yeah,
feel like
it's cool.
there's a big thing with like some people don't want to be called by their gamer tag, and then there's other people that don't want to be called by their real name.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's a completely personal thing, and like I'm honestly fine with both of them. Like I feel like it's completely fair either way. Like obviously your name is more personal, but I just feel like you get to choose your gamer tag. So isn't that like cooler?
Yeah.
And especially like with a lot of people that are coming out as trans, like you can just go, I'm just going to change my gamer tag. It's not like paperwork or anything.
True.
You just, you can literally, you're in control of your own identity
Yeah.
more so than your other one. So yeah.
It's
fun.
hard when you're like going to a restaurant and they're like, call me like, God Destroyer 39.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. What do you want, Mark? What can I get you from the restaurant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, by the end of like going to events, when I did, and I'd meet new people there, I just got too sick of trying to remember two names.
Yeah.
Trying to
Yeah.
try to,
Yeah.
So I'm like,
It is more,
I'm like,
yeah.
what's your name? And they're like, I don't know, Darth Maul 29.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, what's your name?
Yeah.
I'm not calling you that.
Yeah.
I've actually seen on Twitter, like people will make like tier lists of like tags.
Yeah.
And
They're never accurate.
yeah, you're all wrong.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
all wrong. Like how do you have Horny Grandma 69 in S tier or like
That's
whatever?
easy in ST.
Whatever.
That's,
You know what I mean? You know what I mean though.
Might be S+.
And then you just have like actual like good tags in like D tier and it's like
Yeah.
yeah.
there's
never
like
been
a
good
disparity
list.
here.
Never been a good
like
list at all.
no.
Yeah, I'll make a list. Some are coming to my mind now, and I'm thinking,
Oh, it's
Okay.
okay. Let us talk
Not the
about
cat.
And
it.
I knew this was going to happen as well. I
Ben
knew
set
he
it
was
up.
going to
It was
fall.
Ben.
It was you.
No. He put not the Macca's bag that's holding it up behind it. It was Ben.
Construction's never been my
Well
strong
done.
suit.
That was a great idea. I don't know why you did that.
Yeah, why did you do that?
I don't know.
That's
I
a
just,
blue-
wanted to
Whatever,
show,
man.
I just wanted to show the camera the.
This set is held up by just a series of McDonald's bags.
And like just our will to do the podcast. That's it.
Oh man, I'm hungry.
Yeah. Well, if I have to get ready for my musical that I'm in shortly, so we'll probably leave it there. There's actually a lot of more stuff I'd want to cover with you, but we're running out of time, which kind of sucks. But I think since you're in Queensland, we'll probably have you on again if you're keen to do
I'm
it.
just down the road, so yeah,
Yeah.
we can organise it.
Well, I won't get you. I'd say where you live on the podcast.
One, two, three, Fake Street.
Yeah. How far are you roughly from where I live?
I'm in Nunda, so that's
not
probably
that
like
far.
15-minute drive.
Oh, that's
from where
fine.
I am.
Yeah. We should get you around for some Brawl because Ben and I, like, he's coming around all the time to play it.
Yeah,
Sweating
It's
it out.
good. It's
I would
fun.
actually have to remember the buttons again because
Yeah, that
I
happens.
can't play old games once
Yeah.
the new ones come in. Like I played the Overwatch 2 beta, I can't
Yeah.
touch Overwatch 1 anymore.
Yeah.
So I reckon I'd get stomped, but I'm sure
Oh, that's
it will.
just we've been playing for like a month, so
Yeah.
that'll happen. But
Yeah.
also when you're playing with players who have been playing, you will get better quicker as well, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so fun, like the things you remember about the game, because Brawl has actually so many intricacies, probably like more than Smash 4 and Alt, I would say. Like there's so many like
Definitely.
weirdly specific things, and we'll just be playing like, oh Ben, you can like do this by the way.
Yeah.
I get like a flashback. And I'm
Yeah,
like, oh yeah,
yeah,
there's that
yeah,
weird
yeah.
janky thing or whatever. It's really interesting to get
There's
back.
even been a few things that you're like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Even playing back
Yeah, and I
then.
played like
Yeah.
6 years. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shit, yeah, that works. But so are you on Twitter? You are.
I'm definitely on Twitter.
Want to shout out your socials? I'm not sure what they are. if
You
you wanna-
are letter U, letter R, not Shitashi.
Oh,
I'm
true.
on Twitter.
Yeah.
I think if you just search Shitashi, it won't come out. Yeah, I pretty much just post Smash updates.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's become a little bit boring, but I feel like I'm in a webmaster role. So if I
Yeah.
spam my Twitter with what I ate for breakfast, then it's gonna lose the clarity of the message when there's important updates. So yeah, that's mainly that. Not really on anything else. I'm not on Facebook.
I guess like the absolute final thing I would want to ask you is just in terms of going forward with Ausmash, is there anything? What is your like vision for that? Is there anything you're wanting to add or expand on? Or
So basically, at this point, the whole thing needs to be rebuilt. So I probably won't discuss it too much here, but I've got plans on what needs to be added to it. I will say there's a lot of things that need to be taken away. So things I was talking about, like the forums and the ladder, they just add noise to the website. So at this point, they'll need to be removed so that the focus can be on players. I did an analysis of how the website's being used, and 90% of the traffic is to player profiles.
Right, yeah.
So it's very clearly people are going there to look up players. So just basic things like the player search needs to be front and center and easy.
Yeah.
It needs to be faster on mobile. I want to beef up a lot of the data analytics stuff that I can do. I want to add a podcast section to there. I've got to do some updates to the ELO page. I'm just struggling to find time for it because I've got a pretty demanding job. I'm building a online multiplayer writing game for my job, and that's like a tech startup. So that just consumes all of my time, but I'll probably be unemployed in a few months. So
You should plug the game.
Frankenstories. It's like a Jackbox game, but you can also use it in education. So
Projected release date?
Oh, it's been out for a while.
Oh, it's out?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been out for a while.
Do you download it, or is there a
It's
URL?
It's just a URL you go to. If you just search Frankenstories, it's there. It's you basically you get a random prompt and image, or you can like generate your own, and then everyone, like if all four of us were playing, we'd get shown maybe say a picture of Sakurai and go, right, like this guy's chasing you down a dark hallway. So might be it the day. We all write a bit of text, start off the story, then we all vote on which one we think's the best, and that becomes the start of the story, and then you just repeat it until you've built a story.
We should make a video for our YouTube channel playing that game.
We should do.
That would be
That
good.
sounds good.
It's actually quite fun. There's no limit on the number of players, so like people play it in classes of like 30
That's
people.
cool.
Wow.
We've got streamers that play it, so the streamers will play it with their entire stream, and people can drop in and out
That's a great
as
idea.
they want. We're designing it to be used in English classes because you generally, when someone wins, you go, I want to write like them so I can win. So it's a way to encourage like writing skills. But what we're also noticing is that teachers will play it in class, and then after there's a group of 30, there'll be like a subgroup of like 4 or 5 of them during lunchtime that go and write, and it just descends into like porn. So
I never would have guessed that.
we think that's just the kids going, oh, let's do our own little one, and but I think the point is that it can be used for like legitimate educational purposes, but it's also just turned into a fun party game.
Competitive writing.
It pretty much is. Like I've seen enough of it to know that once one person starts winning, it's like how outrageous can you get? Like
I want the
That's cool.
Frankenstories ELO ladder. Thanks very much.
I
I want to get 3,000 ELO on that. That's my goal.
Yeah, that's dangerous. So hopefully I can get back to doing ausmash stuff sooner. But
Podcast section would be really sick.
there's a lot of
for us.
yeah.
Not at all like just in our own sort of desire for that. Definitely not. That's for the good of the scene. Yeah, for sure.
I just want people to be able to search Smash Bros Podcast Australia. The specific goal is to have Smash Bros Podcast Australia to be the first result in that.
That's cool.
Because like there's a lot, like if you type Smash Bros Queensland, I'm pretty sure if you're in Queensland, then the regional page comes up. Like I really do try and target searches with a lot of those pages. So that would be the goal. I don't know how many people are actually searching that, but there's just a lot of good podcasts out at the moment. I just want to support them. So.
Well, signing off, one of the last thing I wanted to mention is like a massive thank you, I think, on my behalf and honestly should be on the behalf of every Australian player in terms of like what you've done for the Australian scene.
Absolutely.
Been in it for a long time. Ausmash is not the only thing you've contributed to the scene, like TOing, organising, orchestrating a lot of different things, always being a really, really great presence in the scene. And, I've known you for like 14 years as we touched on, and been a very good friend to me, helped me a lot when I was like a young kid, bussing me around and stuff like that. Same with Aero.
Ryder wasn't too bad of an influence.
No. I don't know. I think
it's made you a little bit abusive.
Maybe at like 15, I think I started swearing more than you, so didn't take long. So
I must say none of it would have been possible without the community because I started Ausmash by myself, but at this point it's got over 100 administrators on it, and it's at a scale where I would not be able to maintain the data on it myself. So even though I started it, the fact that it's still going is the entire community's help. So we did it, guys.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much for joining us. Follow us, retweet the stuff as always, retweet the episode, give us a like and a subscribe on our YouTube channel, which is aristochatspod, maybe, or is that the Gmail? I don't even know.
That's the Gmail.
Maybe the YouTube is just Aristochats. We link it. You know where it is. You can find it. Subscribe to the channel, man. Just do it.
Give us a review on Spotify or wherever it is that you get.
Chris let me know that we're on Google now.
Google Podcasts.
Amazon as well.
Pop up for it today.
Really? Okay.
I think Amazon has a podcast thing.
For those of you who don't know, we're sort of hosted by Podbean, and they export us to a bunch of different things. And you just basically tick the ones you want to go to. But It's like Spotify is really quick. They're just like, oh yeah, you got a podcast? Yeah, put it on the platform, man. Sounds great. But then Apple and a couple of the other ones are like, hey, wait a second. They take like a month. So I had no idea that we were now on Google and apparently Amazon or whatever. So apparently you can find us there now. We'll try and provide some links to that. But yeah, as I said, please get the content out there. If you have any questions, you want any topics covered or specific guests on, whatever, get in contact with us. We're really receptive to that stuff, and we definitely want to interact with the audience more. And we appreciate all the support we've been receiving. But that will just about do us for today. Thanks again for joining us, Chris. And signing off, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.
See ya.
Adios, amigos.
I'm pretty sure Jesmo fills it up and then he eats them all.
I've only filled it up like once.
And then you ate them all by the next
Maria and I ate them all.
I'm pretty sure it was just you.
You'd be fucking wrong. We actually had like a fight, and they were like, probably up to here last night. And so we finished the fight. We're sitting at this table, other ends of the table, we just like opened their jaws. And that was how we solved the problem. I was like, after the fight, we're sitting like the sort of the tension of it. And we're just like, kind of tired. We're just like, we just go through the whole thing. She just tips out the whole jar onto the. It was good.